In the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, during the Great Depression, there lived a widowed woman named Margaret Hale. She was in her 60s, lived alone in a small wooden cottage, and earned a meagre living by sewing quilts and baking bread for her neighbours. Though she had little, she was known throughout the countryside for one peculiar habit. Every single night, she lit a lantern and placed it in her window. Her neighbours often asked, "Margaret, why do you keep that lantern lit? You live alone. There's no one coming." Margaret would smile and say, "You never know who might be lost in the dark." Many whispered behind her back, calling it a sweet but foolish act. Still, night after night, the lantern glowed. One harsh winter, the snow piled high. Roads were impassable. The town was quiet, shuttered against the bitter wind. Margaret had barely enough firewood to stay warm. Her pantry was nearly empty, and her hands had grown stiff with age and cold. But still, every night the lantern shone. One evening, a fierce blizzard swept through the valley. Most people stayed in bed, hoping their roofs would hold. That night, Margaret wrapped herself in a quilt and placed the lantern on its usual window sill. She was about to return to her chair when she heard a loud thud outside. Then nothing. Margaret opened her door and braced against the wind. There, collapsed in the snow just feet from her porch, was a boy, no more than 16. His coat was torn, and frost clung to his face. Without hesitation, Margaret pulled him inside, stripped off his wet clothes, and wrapped him in every blanket she owned. She stoked the fire with her last pieces of wood and warmed a bowl of broth. The boy stirred hours later, eyes wide with fear and confusion. "You're safe now," Margaret whispered. "You made it." The boy's name was Eli, a runaway from a broken home miles away. He had set out walking days ago, trying to find his uncle in the north, but had gotten lost in the storm. The only reason he had found Margaret's cottage, he said, was because he saw the faint glow of a lantern through the whiteout. "It looked like a star," he said. "I thought maybe I was dreaming." Margaret smiled, her old hands wrapped around his. "That light was meant for you, whether we knew it or not." Eli stayed with Margaret for the rest of that winter, helping chop wood, carry water, and fix up her cottage. In spring, when the snow melted and the roads cleared, the two had grown inseparable. Margaret, who had once believed her life of meaning was over, now had someone to care for again. And Eli, who had never known a true home, had finally found one. Years later, when Margaret passed peacefully in her sleep, Eli, now a grown man, continued to live in the cottage. Every night he lit the same lantern and placed it in the window. When asked why, he always answered, "Because someone might still be out there, lost in the dark, just like I was." Moral of the story: kindness given without expectation can become a light in someone else's darkest hour. Sometimes the smallest actions, like leaving a light on, can save a life.